built into your brain this idea of how you see your value in the world and sometimes whether it's what you create. So people that are listening that don't understand what we're talking about, it is Dr. Steve Peters put forward this idea of gremlins. He just simplified it into this idea of gremlins. And the story was a child comes to the parent with a painting exactly as you're talking about and says, look, I've created a painting. The parent looks at it and goes, wow, this is amazing, puts it on the fridge. Let's show everyone how well it is, how good it is. Second scenario, kid comes back from school, gives the painting, the mum puts it to the side, grabs the kid, hugs them, and says, you're amazing for putting the effort in to do that. Let's have a look at this painting. Wow, do you want to put it on the fridge? Yes, amazing. First scenario, the kid is believing that what they create is their value. The second is that the child is valuable as they are, and then just as a byproduct of their effort, what they do, they have created something. And I had been talking to people about that because I was the first child.
Mm.
And I think a lot of athletes are the
Yeah,
first child.
100%.
We're majority of that. My curiosity around that then moved to, what do you believe it takes to change those gremlins, change those hardwired values of, I see the world as the only way I'm valued is by what I create and the success I can gain through what I'm creating.
And, Steve and I used to have really good debates about this, like, 'cause I'm an optimist, and he might say, "Katie, you're being naive." It's like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna stick with my optimism because I think if you believe those things can't be changed, then you won't try hard enough to even find out." And I can't tell you how much respect I have for Steve Peters and how much I learned from him, but I also disagree with him on it. Is like, do you know what? I think, because I have seen it. I have seen it. It's hard, takes a lot of commitment, but I think that there are so many different techniques and approaches you can take. Is that I would always start with that education piece, exactly like you've talked about. Let's look at what might have happened here. And then there's so many different approaches. Like if we can go back to sort of those early years and almost through guided visualization, help people get into a pretty decent, like relaxed, really open state where they're able to reflect, bring back those memories and start to see life through the eyes of 5-year-old you or 6-year-old you. Often you get them to bring photographs in of that time of their life to really bring it to life of what did it feel like back then? How did you see the world? Like a really kind of really revisit it and then start to reprogram it of like what if we could go back there and talk to younger Lewis, what would we need to say to him? What does he need to hear? What do we need to clarify about that moment of misunderstanding? And part of that is almost like never any judgment on the parent. Is like all parents are doing the best they can with the skills they have, give or take. But the truth is, like, it is the most mind-blowingly difficult job with the least amount of training. And so, I think most parents are slightly messing it up, as myself as well. When Isla comes back, like it is so tempting to just celebrate the achievement. And interestingly, and honoring everything I learned from Steve, I say to her, "Do you want to put it on the fridge?" And most often she says no. She's like, "No, not really." And then we can have a better conversation. I was like, "Oh, which bit do you like the most?" Rather than me lead with telling you what I think is the best so that you always then need to orientate to what other people think and try and please other people. Which bit do you like the most? And it amazes me because she will have an opinion. If I didn't ask that question, I'd never even find it out. So I think, sorry, I'm diverting from the question. I think you can change it. Takes a lot of commitment, and then put in more skills in the moment. Whether some psychologists will talk about acceptance and commitment therapy, some CBT. There's loads of different things you can try to find the right approach for the individual that's sitting with you, um, and it's worth it because the freedom that comes from that second picture that you created. Then they can get in touch and think, what do I care about in life? How do I define success? And you can have way more robust conversations about performance, whether it's an art drawing or cricket, purport, whatever it might be, because you haven't conflated the identity with the self-worth, with the achievement, sorry.
I found mindfulness to be a huge impact on this one. Once I started a meditation practice and the ability to just understand thoughts, patterns, and behaviors that were sort of becoming habitual, you're able to, way I describe it, is put a spanner in the spokes of the turning wheel that can just roll down the hill. And what I was describing it to someone was, if you say a pattern of behavior that you have that you've probably built in, let's say it's been built into you, is to be selfish, that you're instinctively selfish, but then you go through the process of knowing that you are selfish and you've become aware of it, that once you've started to practice that mindful approach of catching that thought and maybe the intention to be selfish, and then stopped it, and then chosen to do the non-selfish thing and the selfless thing, it's not the judgment of having that selfish thought, but it's actually the output that is the most important thing, right? Because you could be mindless in that moment. You could have the selfish thought, run with it, and just be selfish. But if you catch yourself and go, oh, I was about to be a selfish prick, and no, that's not how I want to be, and I want to do this. It's the same way, I think, of I'm about to have success and I'm about to value this achievement and go, oh, isn't that the best thing? Well, hold on, no, it's not the best thing. It's not be all and end all. Actually, I value the effort that I've put in, the person I am, the character that I've gone for, and then that being the output that you get. I think sometimes people might judge themselves too much on the pre-programming they've got and say, because I am thinking this, I'm a bad person because I've just not got rid of it. And I don't think you're going to get rid of it, but I think your optimistic approach and what you're talking about, that you're not going to get rid of it, you're just going to have to navigate it and move it onto the path that you want to go to. Yeah.
And then you get to like, what is the real me? That's someone asked me that recently, and my head exploded. Like, how on earth do we explain this together? Like, who are you? Like, and if I don't know what exactly is the truth, but if we have like 60,000 thoughts per day on average, how many of those are mine? How many of those are just conditioned? How many of those are social media driven? How many of those are just a product of me being hungry and a bit grumpy? Like, what is it to be human? Is a pretty mind-boggling question that is just so much fun to explore with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, have you heard of the film Jim and Andy with Jim Carrey? I really encourage you to watch it. I encourage so many people to watch it. It's just such a very interesting film. It was about Jim Carrey when he played Andy Kaufman on a film called Man on the Moon. And it was a very transformative moment, and it was hidden. The footage, the behind the scenes footage, was hidden from the world for 20 years because Universal, who had a contract, I think had a contract over Jim Carrey, didn't want the footage to come out because they didn't want to let the world know that Jim Carrey was an asshole. And it wasn't okay. It was the fact that what he did in this film was just crazy, and it wasn't the fact that he wasn't. It was what he did in this film. And Andy Kaufman was one of his heroes. But the whole film is about transforming and really diving into, who am I? Who is Jim
Wow,
Carrey?
okay.
But who are we as individuals?
Yeah.
And there's this line that he says in it that sticks with me forever, that he says, you can take a chance on being loved or hated for who you really are, or go to your grave holding on to a character that you never were.
Ugh. Yeah.
And I think we sometimes do that. And I recently had said in a previous podcast that actually I do feel there's an element of, if we're trying to figure out who we are, what it is that we want to achieve, what we're driven by, understand ourselves more, we do have to spend a lot of time, or at least some time, being the person that we don't want to be.
Yeah. To figure it
understand
out.
how,
Yeah.
to understand
Yeah.
how that doesn't
Experiment.
feel comfortable,
Mhm.
and then eventually go, wow, this is a character that I'm playing and it's not me, it's not original. And I find out when you hit your 30s, that eventually starts to become the more existential questions you're asking in life. But I think there is a time period where you can say to someone fairly young, you're going to spend some time being someone you're not proud of, or do some decisions and make decisions that you're not proud of. But in that, you'll learn a lot more about who you are, what you think, the success you want, what you define it as, and where you want to go.
And then it'll be way more meaningful because you've been on that journey and because you've owned it and figured it out, rather than someone telling you as well. Like, you can't accelerate it, the speed of it, because I think, yeah, you have to meet people where they are, try and give them experiences and opportunities to figure out their path. Is such a privilege. That's an amazing quote. I love that.
How do we balance winning and finding fulfillment? But probably in that, how do we redefine our version of success?
Yeah. The we were talking quite a bit a moment ago about early life experiences as shaping part of why that becomes an issue and why that's difficult. I do think we need to, and I think everybody knows it intuitively, look at it's not just that though. It's the way society behaves. I don't know who society is necessarily, but I've noticed that if an athlete comes back with a medal, a championship, a trophy, etc., then they get loads of media invites and people invite them into businesses to talk and schools to talk and all this sort of stuff. And if they finish 4th, 5th or 6th, the phone's quiet. And even if like when they're going out for a coffee in the morning, people will approach them if they've done well and not. So there's so many cues that lead to further misunderstandings around the achievement versus fulfillment piece. Like no one says, wow, what was that experience like for you? They're just like assuming that if you won or finished on a podium or whatever it might be, then it will be successful. It will be meaningful, sorry.
If you enjoyed that clip with Katie, then YouTube has created the best video that you need to be viewing right now. I have no idea what it is, but it's chosen it, and this is it right here.